Hey Goblin, you've been really practicing those war drums.
I'll bring the generic Goblin noise!
Card Conduit is the best way to sell your unused Magic cards. Whether you've got a box of unsorted bulk, or a complete and alphabetized set, there's a great option for everyone. With a payout averaging 19% better than using any one buy list, and that's after fees are applied, you can rest assured you'll get the best bang for your buck. If you're a skeptic like me, their easy customer service and detailed reports make the whole interaction transparent and safe. And if you use the affiliate link in the description below, or the promo code MTGMUDSTA, you'll save 10% off their fees. And 401 Games, Canada's one-stop shop for trading cards, board games, and hobby supplies. Not to mention an easy-to-use and great online buy list. And if you use the promo code MTGMUDSTA, your first purchase of MTG Sealed and Singles will be 5% off. And Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest deck. So be sure to use the code MUDSTA or the affiliate link down below to save 5% on your next order. We are on the final stretch for the Magali Villeneuve Kickstarter campaign. With only a handful of days left, and some stretch goals on the cusp of being revealed, we've got some great choices for you to back the project with. With your choice of playmat, double-sided playmat, table-sized mat, and beautiful extended art prints, there's sure to be something for everyone. So don't wait, time is running out, and be sure to use the affiliate link as you go back the Kickstarter campaign. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's patron shoutout goes to Wes Allen. Thanks Wes for supporting me through Patreon. In today's game, we have Maxim, Felix, and Sebri joining us. Max is playing his Sauron deck, keeping an Island, Mountain, Blood Crypt, Sunken Hollow, Foreboding Ruins, Scourge of the Throne, and Inferno Titan. Felix is playing his tried but true Cadric's deck, keeping Staff of the Storyteller, Eowyn Fearless Knight, Elish Norn Mother of Machines, Mana Crypt, 2 Plains, and a Mountain. Seb is playing their Phylath deck, keeping 2 Mountains, a Forest, Inspiring Call, Kadama's Reach, Borborygmos Enraged, and Prismatic Vista. Last but not least, I've taken my new Nixilis deck out for a spin, keeping Saradin Avenger, Disciple of the Vault, Sword of the Animist, Chandra Dressed to Kill, and 3 Swamps. Max wins the die roll and starts us off. He plays a tap Blood Crypt. I draw, play a Swamp, and cast a Disciple of the Vault. Felix's turn has him playing a Plains and casting Mana Crypt. He then taps it out for a Staff of the Storyteller, making a Spirit token, and passing. Seb just plays a Forest. Max draws, and plays a Foreboding Ruins, and passes to me. I play a Dragonskull Summit as my land drop, and then pay 2 for Sword of the Anime. Moving to combat, I poke Seb for 1 with the Disciple of the Vault, and pass to Felix. Felix rolls for his Mana Crypt trigger, taking no damage, and draws. He then plays a Mountain, and casts Cadric. Going to combat, Felix swings his Spirit token at Max for 1, and passes. Seb draws, and plays a Mountain, and passes turn. Max's turn has him playing an Island, and he then evokes a Muldrifter, drawing 2 as it enters, and then sacrificing it. I play a Swamp for turn, and then activate the sword to equip it onto the Disciple of the Vault. I then move to combat, swinging the Disciple at Seb, and going to find a land before dealing 2 damage. With nothing else, I pass to Felix. Felix's turn has him playing a Plains, and he activates the staff to draw a card. He then moves to combat, swinging Cadric at Seb and the Spirit token at me. We both take our hits, and Felix then passes. Seb draws, and plays a Mountain for turn. They pay 3 mana for Kadama's Reach, finding a basic for the field, and 1 for their hand, and then passing to Max. Max plays a Mountain, and taps 4 for a Timely Chain reaction, dealing 3 to everything on the board, and then passing after that. I draw, and play a Swamp. I then bring out Nixilis, and once he's out, follow up with a Voldaren Epicure, dealing 1 to everyone and making a blood token. The 1 damage lets me exile my top card, and I reveal a Vault of Whispers off of it, but unfortunately since I've already played a land for turn, I have to pass. Felix continues to roll hot on the Mana Crypt, avoiding damage and then drawing for turn. He plays a Plains, and recasts Cadric, and passes to Seb. Seb's turn is quite quick, as they play a Mountain and cast a Living Twister. Max plays a Choked Estuary, revealing from hand a Sunken Hollow so it comes in untapped. He then plays a Tormenting Voice, discarding Inferno Titan, and drawing 2. He then casts Reanimate to bring it back. This has him losing 6, and Max then makes a deal with Seb to take out Nixilis, with Max's Inferno Titan coming in and dealing 3 to him, and Seb then activates a Living Twister to deal the final 2. With nothing else, Max passes. I draw and cast Chandra at Dress to Kill. I uptick her to make a red mana, and use it to help move the Sword of the Animist onto the Epicure. I then go to combat and swing it at Felix, finding a mountain and dealing 2 to him. I then pass turn. Felix loses his first mana crypt flip, taking 3 and then drawing for turn. He plays a command tower, and then follows up with Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines, and makes 2 copies of it with Cadric. Going to combat, Felix swings 1 Elesh Norn copy at Chandra, and the other goes at Seb. This has Chandra getting taken out, and Seb taking 4, and with nothing else, the copies then go away as Felix passes. Seb draws and plays a Prismatic Vista, cracking it for a forest. They then play an Ancient Green Warden, and pass turn. Max draws and then plays his previously revealed Sunken Hollow. He then taps enough for Kiki Jiki, and then once it's out, activates it to copy the Inferno Titan. Unfortunately for Max, the Enter the Battlefield effect is shut down by Elesh Norn. Moving to combat, Max sends his Inferno Titans at Felix, killing Cadric with 1 attack trigger, and dealing 3 to Felix's face with the other. Felix doesn't want to trade Elesh Norn for it, and takes the full hit to his face. With nothing else, Max passes, and during his end step, I activate my blood token, discarding a card and drawing a card. I draw and play a Thermo Alchemist, and then a Lobber Crew. I then go to combat, and this time swing the Epicure at Max, finding a swamp and dealing 2. In my second main phase, I then play Cabal Coffers and pass. Felix loses another mana crypt flip, taking 3 and drawing. He then activates the Staff of the Storyteller, drawing again, and follows it up with an Urza's Ruinous Blast. This has Felix exiling most of the board, and he then casts a Stone of Reach before moving to combat. This has him swinging Elesh Norn at Max for 4, and she is vigilant so she doesn't even get tapped, and he passes to Seb after that. Seb draws, and between the Stone and Elesh Norn, most of their deck is shut off, and they simply pass turn. Max has an island for turn, and he then casts a Firemind's Vessel and passes to me. I draw and activate Cabal Coffers, making some black mana to help cast Prosper. I then equip him with the Sword of the Anime. I then cast a Blood Artist, which has Max responding, casting Terminate and targeting Elesh Norn. I then move to my end step, exiling a Demonic Tutor to Prosper, and passing turn. Felix has a Plaza of Heroes for turn, and then pays 1 for a Wayfarer's Bauble, and then pays 2 to activate it and goes to find a basic. With nothing else, he passes. Seb draws, and with Elesh Norn gone, is able to cast Phylath, who comes in and makes them 6 plant tokens. They then play a forest and put 4 +1/+1 counters onto one of them. After that, Seb then casts a Skull Clamp and passes. Max's turn has him drawing, and he's got enough mana to cast Sauron. This has Felix responding by cracking the stone, exiling Max's graveyard. Max then mills his top 5, and brings back a Hostage Taker, which as it comes in, exiles the Skull Clamp. He also gets to amass 5 on an Orc Army token, and he then passes to me. My main phase has me cashing a Nalfishni, and I then cast the Demonic Tutor from exile. I copy it, and go to find 2 cards to put to hand, and make a treasure token from Prosper. Moving to combat, I swing Prosper at Felix, find another basic, and then deal 2. I then move to my end step, exiling Chaos Warp off the top to Prosper's ability, and pass turn. Felix's turn has him playing a mountain, and then casting Relic of Legends. He then plays out Gimli of the Glittering Caves, and passes to Seb. Seb draws, and casts a Zendikar's Royal. They then cast a Lotus Cobra, and move to combat. They swing Phylath at Felix, who responds by channeling Sokenzen, and makes some tokens to chump block. After that, Seb passes. During their end step, I cast Chaos Warp, and target Kiki Jiki and my own Blood Artist. This has me flipping into a Lightning Rig crew, while Max warps into a Scholar of the Lost Trove. As it comes in, Max is then able to cast Rakdos Signet from his graveyard, and we then move to Max's turn. Max draws and plays an Ancient Tomb. He then plays the Ever-Flowing Well, and mills 2, and draws 2. He then casts a Scourge of the Throne, and after that resolves, casts Seb's Stolen Skullclamp from exile, and then equips it onto Sauron. Moving to combat, Max swings Sauron at me, and I take the 10. With nothing else, he passes. I draw and play an Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. I then recast Ob Nixilis, and once he's out, play Pestilence alongside of it. I then pay 2 into the Pestilence, dealing 2 to everyone and every creature, and I get to exile my top card twice, exiling a Psychosis Crawler and then a Curse of Opulence. I then cast the Crawler, copying it with Nalfashni, and then cast the Curse and copy it with Felix, putting both onto him. Moving to combat, I swing my Crawler copy at Felix and get 2 gold tokens, and Felix then takes the 1 off the Crawler. This in turn triggers Ob Nixilis again, and I exile my top card, which is Swiftfoot Boots. I then cast them with the gold tokens and equip them onto Ob Nixilis and get to make some treasure tokens from Prosper. I then activate the Lightning Rig crew, which has me exiling my Blood Artist, which I then cast again. I then activate Pestilence once more once it's out. I get 4 Blood Artist triggers and send them all at Seb, and then exile my top 8 from all the pings. I then cast an Expedition map from exile, and then move to my end step. This has me exiling a swamp from Prosper, and we move to Felix's turn. Felix draws, and blitzes in Jaxus. He then casts Eowyn, and as she comes in, exiles my Nalfashni. Felix then activates Jaxus to make a copy of Eowyn, and this time hits Sauron, and he then moves to combat. Felix then swings Eowyn at Max for 3, since it has protection from all of his colors for the turn, and Max takes the hit. After that, Felix sacrifices Jaxus to the Blitz trigger, drawing a card from it, and passing. Seb draws and goes to combat. They swing out at Felix to take him out of the game, and Seb and I both get a gold token in the process. With Felix dying, and nothing else to do, Seb then passes turn. Max draws and plays a Soul Ring. He then recasts Sauron, and this time reanimates Coercive Recruiter, stealing my Prosper for turn as it enters. He then goes to combat and swings everything he can at me. Before blocks, I flash in Orcish Bowmaster and ping Max for 1, which lets Ob Nixilis exile a card off the top, and is an Arcane Signet. I then chump his army with my army, and put Ob Nixilis in front of the Scourge of the Throne, and then chump the Hostage Taker with the Bowmasters. I take the rest, and Max gets to untap his creatures and moves to a second combat step. He swings everything at me this time, and I declare no blocks, and drop to 10. I also get 2 Sword of the Animus triggers from Prosper attacking, and Max then moves to his end step. He gets to exile his top card, which is a Fierce Guardianship, thanks to Prosper's ability before giving it back. I draw and activate Pestilence, and then activate the Lightning Rig crew. I then cast a Tithing Blade and Edict my opponents as it comes in. Moving to combat, I swing Ob Nixilis at Max, and Prosper goes at Seb. This has Max dying, and Seb takes 2. I then activate Pestilence again, exile my top card, which is a Shadow Spear, which I then cast and equip onto Ob Nixilis. I then activate Pestilence once more, hitting Nightshade Harvester, which I then cast and pass to Seb. Seb draws and plays their Nissa Voice of Dendikar, and then casts Azusa. They uptick Nissa to make a plant token, but with no way to stop the flying, tramply Ob Nixilis, they know when they're beat and scoop it up. Game review time. This game was 55 minutes and 21 seconds, and I learned a pretty valuable lesson, which is never cast Ob Nixilis if you don't already have ways to deal damage on the field. Despite the fact that he's got a decent chunk of toughness, it didn't take much for my opponents to take him out that first time around. Once the ball is rolling with all that damage though, things get out of hand really fast. Between the card advantage, card selection, and having a massive commander with flying and trample, things start to get scary for your opponents. Felix's Cadric deck is always fun to see. I love the fact that its legendary matters, and it also makes tokens, 2 themes that I really love to see. That Elish Norn did a lot of work not only just for his deck, but also shutting off Seb's deck. Unfortunately for Seb, that one card turned off both modes of their commander, as lands coming in wouldn't trigger, and Phylath coming in wouldn't trigger either. It ended up putting them several turns behind because they weren't able to cast their commander, and all they could really do was ramp. Max's Sauron Le Seigneur des Anneaux deck is exactly what you expect. We've seen it happen a lot of times, and he's built it heavily around reanimating creatures. Inferno Titan is always a big one that I love to see, and him getting multiple copies thanks to Kiki Jiki was brutal. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.